love, what's up? Welcome to Confidently Uncomfortable. I'm your host, Jago, health and lifestyle coach and not-so-regal confidence queen. Coming at you with the real, the raw, and of course, the uncomfortable. My mission is to show you that to be confident, it has absolutely nothing to do with being perfect or having it all together, and everything to do with you getting uncomfortable and pushing your limits. Thanks for joining me. Let's dive in. So your girl wakes up like it's Christmas morning, so excited because she's turned 29. What is the first thing she does? Records a podcast. Yes, that's right. I am waking up the morning of my 29th birthday. The sun is just coming up, and I chose this time to really record this episode because I wanted to come from a place that was super authentic. I didn't want to record it early and be like, hey, what's it like? How do you feel? Have you reflected on it? I'm like, shit, I'm not there yet. Well, guess what? I'm there now. It's been a few hours of being 29, and I'm going to be talking about a lot of different things because I think birthdays are interesting. Sometimes people are like, I love birthdays. Some people hate birthdays. Wherever you stand on the birthday argument, the birthday debate, you're going to really enjoy this episode because I think that one thing we all have a limited time of is time, right? It's something that doesn't matter rich or poor, where you're at on this world, you cannot predict how many years you're on this earth. And that is why gratitude is so important. That is why it's so important to be doing what you love. That's why it's so important to be loving your body because life is so damn short. It's not worth worrying about the things that don't really matter on your deathbed. And so I've done a couple of different journaling exercises for myself. And so typically I won't recommend things to you all unless I've done them myself. So just some things that work really well for my birthday. So the first thing is reflecting on 10 years ago. I journaled about kind of where I was at, what my headspace was, what that was like, and then anything I learned along the way. I think you guys are going to really enjoy this aspect because y'all didn't know me then necessarily. Some of you guys did, but not everyone listening knew who that 19-year-old girl was. Shoot, honestly, she barely knew who she was. So I think this is a really cool reflection to do on your own if you ever have a birthday coming up, or if you just want to do it with me. I'd love for you to do this. So just reflecting on where you were 10 years ago, what all was going on, what was probably like your biggest worry, and anything else that comes up. So I'm going to share that with you as well. And kind of if there's anything I would change, if anything would happen. I don't think I've ever talked about some of the things I'm going to be talking about today, so I think that's going to be a great reflection. I'll talk about the next exercise. I'm actually breaking up me recording this episode with me doing the exercises because, again, I wanted to come like from the immediate, like where I'm at in my headspace from it. So I just did the activity of reflecting on where I was 10 years ago. So come with me if you will. The year is 2014. Actually, I just turned 2015. Where was I when I was 19 years old? Well, I had just finished my first year at UNC Wilmington. So if you don't know, UNCW is by the beach. It's a really cute college, but it honestly wasn't my first choice. I wanted to go to UNC Chapel Hill. That's where my mom and dad went. My aunts and uncles went. It was one of those things where it just felt like I was meant to be there, right? And so, of course, when something doesn't happen that you believe was meant to happen, we assume, something went wrong in my life, something went wrong in my timeline. So I didn't get in, right? I got waitlisted and eventually just went to UNCW. And that first year was one of the coolest years of my life. I got to meet friends that I'm still super close with. The dorm life was amazing. I was dating Tom at the time, and that was our first year of our long distance relationship. Y'all, it was the first year of 5 years. But the truth is, I recognizing and looking back, like when that happened, when that door closed in front of me of not going to Carolina, where I thought was my dream school, your immediate thought when you're in the moment is, wow, this is like the worst. But then it ended up being the best year ever. I mean, it was one of the best years for me. And it just goes to show, like, things that you think are meant to be in your life, maybe they are, but not in that timeline. So we put these we put these time limits or these expectations on, like, okay, it has to happen by then. I need to get married by then. I need to lose this weight by this time. I need to do this by this time. And that, I'm going to get, like, honestly, y'all know I have a relationship with God, the universe, and that's not God's plan. Listen, his plan is always better than our plan. And so if I thought, man, this is fucked up, I didn't get where I wanted to go, my whole timeline's off, blah, blah, blah. Let's think back. So if I had gotten what I thought I wanted, but not actually what I needed, which was to not get in that first year, I would have been a lot closer to my boyfriend who was still in high school. So most likely I would have probably driven to see him every weekend. I would have probably, not gotten to have that experience of being in the dorm rooms. I probably would have, honestly struggled because UNC is hard. So I think freshman year would have been really, really hard for me. And I wouldn't have gotten the experience of being away. So Chapel Hill is closer to my hometown, whereas UNC Wilmington's, it's a new experience. I'm by the beach. I'm having a little bit more independence. And seeing that change, seeing that, like, hey, this was exactly the way it was meant to be. Looking back, it's just one of the beautiful things. It's like, hey, that happened exactly when it was supposed to happen. I actually got accepted the following year into UNC Chapel Hill, and went on to graduate with a degree in exercise science. But I would not trade that first year at UNCW for anything. It was the best experience. Reflecting back on anything in those 10-year span is like, would you change anything? So where else was I? So mentally, I was definitely still dieting, any kind of fad diet, anything I read about, whether it was good or bad, I was cutting out. I was drinking crazy stuff that I thought would make me lose weight, just crazy restrictions. I would get onto the cardio equipment and, like, have a goal of, like, how many calories I was burn. I would obsess, like, if I didn't go to the gym before I would go out that night, I would feel guilty. I didn't feel confident in my skin. I was constantly comparing myself to other girls in the dorm room. I was I don't know, I was just more self-conscious than ever. It was like everything was heightened when you were by yourself that first year when you were in college. And so I had already dealt with some of those issues growing up. And then I went in here and it was less just like, damn, like, this is different. Because I felt like by the end of high school, I definitely got more confident. I had friends, everything like that. And then everything gets taken away from you and you start from scratch. And if I could talk to 19-year-old me, if I were to write her a letter, she probably wouldn't read it because she was too hungover on a Saturday. But to my old me, I would tell her to stop stressing about grades first and foremost. Keep focusing on loving your body and getting stronger. So shifting that focus earlier on. Being present in everything. So just be present where you're at. I think that was hard in a long distance relationship. Embrace the uncomfortable and you're going to be fine. Don't stress. My track coach got me this book when I graduated from high school called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And at first I was like, cool. Like, I didn't really think much of it, but it is literally, like, so true. I think that when we're in the moment, when we're in it, we're so caught up in the tiny details and wanting them to all, like, put everything together exactly as you think is fit for your life. But the truth is, we don't fully know what is fit for our life. And so entering the last year of my 20s, I have a lot of thoughts here. I honestly thought I was going to be sad. I thought I was going to turn 29. I cried when I turned 25. I don't know why. It just felt old for me at the time. Now I'm laughing at that 25-year-old girl. But when I turned 29, I thought that I would be sad. And really, I am so damn grateful to be 29 years old. And the lessons I've learned and getting back to the idea of not sweating the small stuff is huge. So why do I say that? Because when I look over the last 10 years, I worried about a lot of things that I don't even remember right now, like that don't even matter. I worried about so many things. I worried about so many feelings. I worried about so many other people's opinions. But I'm so glad that over the past decade, I've learned to let that go. And so a lot of times, like, what lessons have you added to your life? And I think it's really like, what teachings have you, like, redefined for yourself in a way that, like, feels way more authentic to you? So it's like people will always try and give you advice, but, like, ultimately it needs to be what's best for you. I mean, looking back, entering my last year, my 29 years old, I married my high school sweetheart, my best friend, Tom. I graduated UNC Chapel Hill with a degree in exercise science, a school that I originally got turned down from. I got an internship to work with Special Olympics in Australia, in Sydney, Australia. And then from there, I was able to travel for a month or so in New Zealand, and one of the best experiences of my life. I wouldn't have gotten that if I hadn't. Actually, if you think about it, I wouldn't have gone to Australia if I hadn't transferred, because I transferred, I had some credits left over at the end of whatever year I graduated. And I decided to go study abroad for those last few credits. And I truly don't know if I would have done that. And so it's so cool to think about how it's all connected. And one thing led to another. And so if someone's like, well, do you have any regret? Would you change anything? It's like, no, because ultimately I am where I'm supposed to be in this moment. And any of those things in the past, if they were to change or shift, I wouldn't be me. I'm seeing this trend on TikTok. Yes, I'm referring TikTok as a 29-year-old, but it's called like this mosaic challenge. And it's so cool because it's basically like a monologue where you're talking to the camera and you're talking about all the things that kind of make you, the little quirks that you do, and kind of like why you do them and how they're all brought up by different people. And I want to do that. So we'll see if I get that done by the end of this, or if I do it as a TikTok. So follow me on TikTok, slight plug. But it's just so beautiful because it's like, it's true. Like, that's why being present is so important, because the people you meet, the things that you experience, the things around you, like that all makes up who you are. And if you want to continue to be dynamic and grow, then you need to be open and present and aware of what's going on around you. You need to be open to taking in other things. You need to be open to your opinion changing, growth happening, learning from other people, recognizing that your way is not always the best way, like putting down your ego and just stepping into being. It's not about necessarily doing. That hustle mentality is what I started my business on. And it's, if you're in that phase right now, it's beautiful. I'm proud of you, but you don't need to stay there. Like, let go and watch what God can do in your life. Like, you still need to show up for you. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean like you sit here with your legs crossed and you're like, okay, like, let's see what happens. Like, you show up, but like, let go of the small stuff that's holding you back from starting. Let go of the stuff that's making you get caught up in comparison. Maybe you're looking, and I'm listing out like some of my accomplishments, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm older than that and I haven't even done those things, or I'm younger than that and I'm never going to do those things, or you're getting caught up in that. And what I want you to instead see is, wow, you're so right. Looking back, I did stress about a lot of things, and now I'm here. And guess what? A lot can happen in 10 years. So instead of getting stuck thinking that you're stuck, recognize you are free. And every single moment you have a choice. And so that's something that I've had to continue to pick myself up with, that truth. Is I always have a choice to change. I get to choose how other people make me feel. And so instead of letting them hold me back and hold me down, I'm going to step up into that and recognize that I was put on this earth for a purpose, and there is nothing that's going to shake me from that. And there is a reason that you are here on this earth. And I want you to continue to step into that. Sometimes we think that these passions or this mission on earth is supposed to be this outlandish thing, and you're supposed to be famous and you're supposed to be whatever. And then if you're not at that level, that caliber, then your life doesn't have the same level of meaning, especially in the world of social media. It makes us feel that way, right? And that's just not true. If you can learn to be and be present, then you can connect to the people around you. You can make an impact on the people around you. You can do amazing things in your life, even at your current job, even at your current environment, even at your current salary. All of those things you can start now, because if you don't start now making an impact and doing the things that you want to be doing, then you're not going to do it even if something did change for you that you think is the solution. So you think more money is the solution, or you think a different job is the solution, or you think your weight change is the solution, when really that can occur. But first, you need to start shifting your mindset and showing up as that version of you that you want to bring into your life. And I started doing that in my 20s, and it was life-changing, because I'll actually tell you guys that a little story. So going on my list, so I quit my job. I don't know if you know this, but I got my degree in exercise and sports science. I was studying in Sydney. I've told this story. If you haven't watched my episode 1, I have my good friend Olivia actually do a Q&A with me. And so you can go listen for the longer story. But basically, went to as soon as I graduated from Australia, I actually moved in with my dad. That was another thing that was like, I don't know, it was this one choice that I did, and it totally shifted my life. I had never lived with my dad since I was little. So my parents got divorced when I was like 3 or 4, I can't really remember. And he traveled. He was amazing as far as providing for my family. My parents were amazing because they never talked ill of each other. They were very sweet, and the reason that like I didn't think I need therapy for a long time because I was like, I'm not too messed up. But now everyone needs therapy. That's a big lesson I've learned over the past 10 years. Everyone can benefit from therapy, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I'm living with my dad at the time. I graduated, went to Sydney, Australia, and then came back. Tom was a senior at Appalachian State, so he was about a couple hours away from me towards the mountains, and I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and living with my dad. And that was honestly like a really good experience. It was really healing for us. We were able to bond and get close and get to know each other in a way that I didn't have that really growing up in the same way, because when you're not living with someone, it's just different. And that experience, like I went and got a job at a gym because I thought, okay, this is like, I don't want to go back to school like a lot of my friends had done, and I guess that means I'm going to work at a gym. And so I got a job at a gym near UNC Charlotte, and it was honestly really good for me. Like I experienced so many amazing things. It was literally, you start from nothing. So when you're a trainer in a gym, you're literally it's not like they just hand you clients. It's like, okay, like you can be a trainer, you can work for us, but you got to work for you. And that was the first time that it was really like me having to do shit for myself. I was privileged. Like I definitely, I think a lot of people see things that are wrong in their families, but like I'm still very fortunate. Like I went to college, like I had all these amazing things happen. And so for me to step into this and be like, hey, like you got to own it, you got to make it happen for you, was again a lesson I wouldn't trade. And so I went from having 0 clients to having a full schedule. I had people from as early as 5 a.m. to as late as like 9 at night. And I just wanted to work hard. I was like, I don't know. It's just like hit me that I was like, this is like literally the work I put into it is the outcome that I get. And the more that I work, the more that I sign on clients and the more money I make. And it was really cool. Like I was able to grow that business in my own way. I felt like very autonomous, but then there was also the side of things that felt a lot of pressure and felt like, you're still working for someone else. I did the math and I'm like, shit, like if I'm bringing in this much money for this company and I am making only this much money, like something's wrong here. So that was like a couple of the signs that I started to see like, hey, I don't know if this is like the long-term solution for me. So my third year in, second or third, I literally can't remember, but it was my husband and I's like third, or I don't know, like 6-year anniversary. I don't know. It was some anniversary. I get them confused. We're literally going on like the 12 years in June. It'll be our 3-year anniversary and our 12-year dating anniversary. So I get them confused. But we wanted to do a cross-country road trip. He has this Ford Ranger. It has a long truck bed. We were going to just like basically turn it into like a camper van. And I had got it all figured out. Listen, I was like, I adjusted my schedule. I talked to all my clients. I moved everything around. Like you don't get vacation days when you work for yourself, when you're basically, I wasn't a full-time salaried employee. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you are basically like, if they are, you're working for them, but they're not paying you as a full-time, then you are not going to get the same benefits. So you don't get paid time off. So if I'm not working, I'm not making money. If I'm not training a client, I'm not making money. So even if I was at the gym and I had someone not show up, you're not getting paid. And so I learned a lot from that about like communication to my clients, about how to write my program. Just everything was so powerful. But I knew I wanted to go on this trip with my husband. He was working in the hospital as a certified nurse assistant, CNA. And so he was able to move his schedule. And I was like, I can do the same thing. You know, I have that flexibility. And I did. I had all my clients. I was working doubles. I was working twice as many hours before, and I had planned to work twice as many hours after. So I'd already made it so that it was all going to work out perfectly. And then this happened. I get my boss, the manager of the gym, said, hey, I need to talk to you in my office, and come and sit down with him and then the manager of the gym. And they basically say, hey, we're going to this month. It's June. We need to hit this certain mark. And by you not being here, we're not going to hit that mark. And you can't take this time off. And I was like, wait, so you're saying because I'm one of the highest paid employees, one of the highest paid trainers here, not the highest, by the way, I'm not going to lie, I can't take off time. I can't be rewarded for my good deeds because I'm not good enough. Whereas if I was an entry level, they wouldn't really care. And that was just so backwards to me that I was just like, okay, well, I'm going. And that's literally what I said. I'm going. Will I have a job when I get back? And they told me no. And I walked out that door and I didn't look back. Did I think about looking back? Oh, hell yeah. I was like, what the hell am I doing? I just left a company where I was making decent money, y'all. It's like, it was tough money to make, but I was making decent money. And again, living with my dad. So it was good money when you're 20 something, in your early 20s. And I went on this road trip with my husband and had no plan. I had a good friend actually help me like make a cute map for it. Maybe I can share that at some point on my stories, but it was basically a cross-country road trip. And I left for vacation with no job and I had no plan, no backup plan. And while I was there, I was like, I don't want to work for anyone else anymore. I don't want to ever have to be in a situation where I want to do something and I can't go do it. And so that was when I made the promise to myself that I was never going to work again for someone else. I burned my interview clothes because I'm a crazy person. When I got home, I came home to so I basically like set up my LLC and I came home to my like approval for the LLC the day that I got back. And it was so cool because I come back from this trip. I was nervous, but I also had this sense of calm. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know what exactly that means, but I know that I'm not supposed to be continuing at the gym. I get home, I open the letter, and it was like, there it is, Jago Fit LLC, certified. And it felt so good. And I think if I had let worry and fear immediately jump in, I wouldn't have been able to enjoy that moment. Like, I have the visual of me standing in my dad's kitchen with the letter in my hand and tears in my eyes because I took a second to breathe in that this is it. This is different. This is me. This is the next step. And so if you're going through some next step and you're getting so caught up in like the busyness of it all, I want you to take a second to slow the F down. Thank yourself where you're at, even if you're not where you want to be. A lot of times we get so caught up in like the point B that we are not enjoying the in-between phase. I remember reading that from a devotion when I was a freshman, and it really hit me because that was me. I wasn't enjoying being at school because I wanted to be at Carolina. I wanted to transfer. And like at that point, I made a promise to start being more present and start enjoying where I was at. And that's what helped got me through. So I started my own business, and this business was not what it is today. It was not online. I was literally driving to my clients' houses and training them. I had a really good friend actually let me use his gym, his garage gym. And I had my clients coming out in the middle of June and July because they're amazing. Like, if you're listening to this and you know this story, I love you. You're amazing. Thank you for supporting me in a really hard time. But they would come out in the middle of June and July in a hot ass garage and flip tires with me because they saw that what I was doing, and they saw that I was doing this and it was bigger than me. And I think it was so cool to be able to create that. I mean, I was doing all these things. I was teaching boot camps in the park. I was hosting these workout parties. I was using Facebook a lot for that. So doing Facebook events so that I could do meetups. And I started going to apartments and pitching myself to teach jobs. And this is a story that I wanted to get to. That was a long walk from point A to point B, but I wasn't worried about it because I just wanted to be present with y'all. But oh my gosh, I was pitching to an apartment. I remember this story specifically because I just walked out and was like, wow. I was pitching to an apartment about, hey, I'm the owner of Jago Fit. I started using the term we host these classes at different apartment gyms. I had never hosted a single class at an apartment gym. We host these classes at different apartment gyms. I wanted to reach out to your apartment because you seemed like you'd be a good fit, because no one else had ever answered any of my emails. and I would love to talk more about what we can do, blah, blah, blah. And so basically I do that. I have a support email on my Gmail, and I'm emailing them from the support email. I would sign off my emails, Jago and team. I didn't have a team. It was just me. My team was my boyfriend helping to take the equipment to the boot camp. My boyfriend showing up to apartment gym classes so that I wasn't only teaching girls, because I wanted guys to come to the workouts too. People rag on the faking it till you making it. So I do want to hit on this because this is a big lesson. I think a lot of times we're like, well, if I try this and I don't already feel like I'm successful at it, then it means I'm faking it. So if I try and, be athletic and be a runner, but it doesn't feel right, like it doesn't feel like I'm a runner right away, then I'm a faker. If I don't feel confident and I start to try and act like I'm confident, show up confident, wear things that a confident version of me would wear, then I'm faking. Or if I'm smiling when I'm working through some stuff, I'm faking. And that's just not true. But I'm going to shift away from your mindset thinking the term fake it till you make it. Really, it's about you have this highest version of you, this most confident version of you, and it's within you right now. When we think about ourselves and our future selves, a lot of times we're thinking outside of ourselves. We're thinking about that future version and it being far away. When in actuality and reality, that version is within you right now. As you're sitting listening to this, those goals that you have for your life, that vision you have for your life, that most confident self that you see showing up on a regular basis, or you want to see showing up on a regular basis, she's within you right now, which is so cool. So when we're working towards things, to focus on that instead of trying to think that it's outside of us. So the faking it till you're making it, coming back to that, you're not faking it if you're stepping into that confidence. If you're trying something new that's outside of your comfort zone, that doesn't mean it's not you, because you're constantly expanding. But in order to expand and grow, you have to get uncomfortable. You have to get outside of your normal thoughts, your normal activities, your normal dress, your normal everything. And it might feel weird at first, but remind yourself, I'm not faking it till I'm making it. I am taking a step towards that highest version of me. I'm stepping into that most confident version of me. And so she's already there. It's just whether you're able to turn on the heat and actually make it, start to make it stick. So there are little points, those days where you're like, oh, I look good. I feel good. But maybe they're a little bit few and far between right now. That should be a light into your future, and recognize that, hey, if I can tap into this at this small point in my life, I could start doing this every single day for me. And that's what I help my clients do. And it's what I had to do for myself every single day. So even when I was starting my business and I had nothing, I acted like I have everything. I am making like X amount of money. I do have a full client base. I did have a full, because guess what? Full was whatever I could take on. And I was struggling at the very beginning, and I was probably spending more on gas money for a while, but more than anything else, and buying equipment. But I showed up anyways, and I kept doing it because it just felt right. I felt more connected with my clients. And then I got to a point where I wanted to get even more connected with them, but I also wanted to travel, because it got to a point where if I wanted to take time off, I had to ask, 20 of my bosses to take time off because I had so many clients. And so I decided to shift towards online coaching. I'd heard about it, but I wanted to do it differently. And I knew I didn't want it to be the same. And it's really cool. I went to one of my clients actually she was psychic, and I went to a reading with her, and y'all, it's powerful. And the thing that you need to understand is, like, that's a connection to God she has. That's a connection to the universe she has. And so she was able to basically talk to me about a lot of things. I don't want to get into it all because it's very personal, but she talked about my business, and she said, you're going to be wildly successful. I don't remember what I got, like the fortune something or the cups, or I don't know. This is how I don't know these things. But I wrote it down in my journal, and she talked about how I was going to be successful with my business, But she said, you are going to turn fitness on its back. And I was like, interesting. Like at this point, I had still been training people in a gym. I hadn't started my online business. I hadn't started talking about mindset and confidence and shifting towards that. But she told me that that was what I was going to do. And I walked away feeling like, wow, I know I want to do something different than what's out there right now in the fitness industry, but I didn't know what it was. And that's where I want to end with, is the importance of when you're working towards your vision, when you're going into this next decade. So I'm going into this next decade soon. So 29, it's my last, I'm closing out the decade of my 20s, and I could be sad about it, but I'm not going to, because ultimately everything that happened in my life happened for a reason. And some shitty stuff happened, but I learned a lot. I got stronger because of it. I'm growing, and I'm also not stuck here. I'm going to continue to grow. And the biggest thing that I can stress when you are working towards your vision for your future is not the nitty-gritty details. It's not necessarily the how right away. I want you to first focus on the why. I talk about that all the time, but then also the values behind the why. So I shifted towards understanding my values within myself, and it completely changed how I ran my business. It completely changed how I worked day to day. It completely changed my mindset around life. And it was so powerful that I'm actually going to read them to you now. So one of my recent coaches gave me this values exercise, and basically like I was able to sit down and break up what really mattered to me. And so that's why I think that's so important, because a lot of times we're chasing these check boxes in life, and then we get them maybe, and we aren't happy once we get them. We aren't satisfied, or we're like, this isn't it. Or we don't get the check boxes that we think we're supposed to on the timeline. Like, oh, I'm 30 or I'm 29. Like I should already have kids. I should already have this. I should already, have 2 businesses. I don't know. I should have quit my job by now. Whatever is in your head that's feeling like I should have done this, those shoulds, woulds, and coulds don't help anything. They just break you down in a negative way. And so instead of focusing on that, shifting towards asking yourself, like, what do I value in life? And then what am I doing in my life? And if there's a disconnect, then something needs to change. And so I'm going to go through my values, and the ones that mean to them. They're in no particular order, so don't think like, why did you put that above family? And like, no, please don't. So my values are adventure, integrity, connection, growth, confidence, love, family, fun, consciousness, so being present, and impact. These are all words that have come out of my life throughout my entire life. Adventure really resonates with me, with us being spontaneous and going on trips, putting all our stuff in storage. And we traveled to Thailand for 4 weeks. We were traveling around Thailand. That was our honeymoon. Integrity. This word resonated with me since kindergarten. I remember there were these character traits parades that we got, and I got integrity once. And the cool thing about that was I got it, and I didn't know what it meant, but my mom explained, like, it means that you do the same thing whether someone's watching or not. And that was really cool to me. And then my dad was so proud of me. He brought, I remember this because it was my first piece of jewelry I ever got. And it was a silver or white gold bracelet that had the script integrity on it. And he gave it to me, and he said he was so proud of me. And that was, like I said, he was divorced. We were divorced then, and we were divorced. My parents were divorced then. So it was a really cool experience. It's something that stuck with me. And it's like, that is what I want to be my whole life. The same person behind closed doors or not. Connection is huge for me. I just know that I feel better when I have connection, and that has been tested, especially in 2020 when we were going through the pandemic and shit still going on and it's not back to normal yet. But recognizing I value that connection, and I want to create that in everything that I do. I want to have connection, real connection with my clients. I want to have real connection with my family and friends, and fuck surface level conversations, because real connection goes deeper than that. So that is what I really value. Growth was another one, and that's growth and confidence kind of go together. So knowing that there is confidence within growth. And so continuing to challenge myself, continuing to grow has been a huge priority in my life. No matter what new level I come up to, I know that I'm always growing. But with something that's grounding me is consciousness. So growth and consciousness really pair well together. I want to grow, but I don't want to get so caught in the next goal that I'm not being conscious of where I'm at. I'm not being present where I'm at. So those are really important to me, and they kind of balance each other out. Confidence is huge, obviously, with my message, and also me showing up confident in my own life, no matter what. Even when I feel like I'm not ready, I still show up and do it. Example is like, I'm always doing that. Like, yes, I'm confident in my body, but there's other things that when you're growing, you are always leveling up, and you're having to go back through some of those limiting beliefs, some of those inner demons that tell you can't. But you remind yourself, hey, I've gotten through this before. I can get through this again. Like I'm doing my Go retreat this fall. I am so pumped for it. It's going to be one of the best events ever. But it's scary because I've never hosted anything like this before. But I'm trusting that this is what is meant to be. This is what is meant to happen. And I'm going to show up even if I don't feel ready. Love is huge. I think love, that sounds so cheesy, but love does conquer all. Ultimately, no matter what you're going through, like that love is what can really get you through. Family is so important to me. I'm very close with my two brothers, my younger brother Jackson, my older brother Preston, Ashley, my sister, and Zach. I'm very close with Jackson and Preston especially, and I don't know, your family are the people that, listen, you can also choose your family. So I will say that's okay. If you have chosen to choose other family, it's not the end of the world. But with my family, like, we're close and we've been through stuff together, and we will always be close because of that. And it's such a powerful thing to have in your life, and it's something that I value. Fun is another one that I had on there. Like, I want to wake up and be having fun with the stuff that I'm doing. And I am. And that's what's so cool. And something that actually this year I refocused on was having fun and finding pockets of joy in every single day, even the mundane. And I started doing this because we were living in small towns with Tom's rotations, and it was like I could either be miserable and just be like, oh, we're not where I want to be, or this didn't work out how I wanted, or I can find a way to find something fun or something that brings me joy in this space before we go to the next rotation. And so I was able to like learn to go on hikes every day, or not every day, oh no, every week, to explore a new town, to just be present. I started doing a lot more grounding, and shaking. And so basically I would go into the yard and I would start jumping up and down and shaking my body and just kind of like letting it go. And like, whew, if you haven't ever done that, highly recommend it. It's very powerful, and grounding in general is very powerful. But like doing stuff and not being self-conscious, not worrying about what other people thought. And it's really like, well, are you having fun with this? And if you're not, let's shift towards something else. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't have hard work and things that you have to work through, but even if you're having a tough day, even if you're having like a huge project at work and you're struggling to get through it, there is still 10 minutes somewhere in your day that you can do something that's fun. You can do something that makes you happy. I have roller skates now. I'm super pumped about that. And that's one of my things now, to where if I am in my head, I'm really stressing, I literally will put on roller skates and do like a couple loops around my neighborhood. It's awesome because it makes me feel like a kid again. So think back, like when I was a kid, what would I do? Another big one I started doing more, I started climbing trees again. Sounds crazy. There's a 29-year-old in this tree. Why? What is going on? But guess what? When you're up in that tree, it literally brings you back to this state of joy of when you were a kid and you had no worries and you were connected to nature. And so think about, what did I do when I was a kid, and start doing more of that. That's my big advice takeaway. The last two, consciousness and being present. It can be really hard when you are trying to grow, when you're trying to make changes in your life, to focus on anything but the present, because you're like, well, I'm not where I want to be, so why would I focus on that? But there's something in your life that there's in your present moment that is so precious, and that's not forever. And so if you let go and don't focus on it and don't feel present in the moment, it's going to be gone. And so for me, that was Fiona, my dog. Like, she died last year, and I'm so thankful that I was present with her on a regular basis, that I made my pockets of joy were with her, going on walks, or I would take breaks. I literally do this thing where you do work sprints, and I would have the timer go off, and then my break was literally to just cuddle with her or lay in the grass with her, or she would work out with me. She came to my boot camp classes, all those things. And like, she helped me be present. So if there's someone out there that helps you with that, get more of that. Surround yourself with that. If there's someone that's stressing you out and making you not feel good in your present state, get away from that. Shift out of that. And then the last one is impact. Why does this word resonate with me? I remember first day of freshman year, I had this class. It was like home ec or something, and we had to fill out this icebreaker form. And she said, at the end of these 4 years, when you graduate high school, what do you want to achieve? And I said, I want to make an impact. It's kind of stupid that the imps are our mascot are the imps, and basically it's like a tiny devil, I guess, but our colors were like green. But yeah, I said that I wanted to make an impact, and that was freshman year. I didn't know anyone in high school, and then I graduated high school, like coming out of my shell and meeting a lot of people. Actually was homecoming queen of my high school, and I don't know if that really made an impact, but I definitely, I know that I started to shift towards, because my value was in making an impact, that I wanted to always be aware of others and have empathy for others and recognize like how other people are feeling, and not in a way to where, I think when I started with that mindset of like I wanted to make an impact on others, I did it to where I was like putting myself at the bottom of the totem pole, to where I wanted to make an impact, but I struggle with that. So now making an impact has to do with starting with me first. So I focus on how can I make an impact within my own life, and then how can I take what I'm learning within my own life and impact others. It's what I tell my clients at the end of BCB every round is, you've learned a lot over these 12 weeks and you're doing some amazing things in your life, but my mission on this world is to impact as many women and men as possible to feel confident in their skin and start showing up for themselves now, and not waiting to live their lives. And I want you to do the same. I want you, and I'm going to leave this with you guys, I want you to do the same. I want you to take some lesson that you've learned in your life that's a beautiful lesson. And I don't want you to tell someone the lesson. I want you to show someone the lesson. I want you to help someone else. I want you to make an impact on other people, because ultimately, like, we have these birthdays, we grow and we expand, but these, coming back to the mosaics, these small things that we reach out and touch other people with, stick with them forever. So no matter whether this is your last year on earth or you're going to be here for 100 more years, the impact you make starts with yourself, and then it starts with others. So recognize that life is bigger than you, and we don't need to get caught up in the small stuff. So the final exercise is looking into the next 10 years, like, where do I see things going? And this is where it's like, yes, it's beautiful and you can set really specific goals. I have more specific goals, but I know some things that I want to achieve and I will achieve over the next 10 years. So recognize that. I'll list some things out, sure, but I'll tell you at the end once I list them out. So my podcast is going to grow because you guys are going to share it. You're going to take a screenshot. You're going to share this episode and you're going to leave a review, and we're going to grow to an amazing, amazing volume to reach more women, more men, whoever wants to listen to this. It's going to grow. My Body Confident Blueprint program is going to impact more women than I ever thought possible. My Training Naked workouts are going to be in more homes than ever before. My Go retreat is going to be a success, and guess what? It's going to lead to not only annual retreats, but retreats on a regular basis, some even international. I'm going to be traveling. I'm going to end up having a house at some point. We'll see. Hopefully in the next 10 years, if I want to settle down. That stresses me out. But yeah, so a house, but definitely kids. And I'm going to be speaking at more events. I'm going to be feeling amazing in my skin even more, I think, going into your 30s. So I'll be 39 10 years from now. I hope it just continues with the whole not giving a crap what other people think. And leaning into that even more, especially as a mom. If you moms out there, it's tough. It's tough because I see how there's no right answer. So just know I'm here for you, but I'll probably need help from you in the future. Feeling amazing, and I'm still madly in love with my husband, high school sweetheart, Tom. So that's kind of where I see things going. But I think ultimately, yes, you can have a goal for the next 10 years in your life. But if you don't ground those goals on your values, then you're going to get lost in the sauce. So if you said, I had this revenue goal, I want to make 6 figures, I want to make $1 million, I want to whatever, like, you got to ask yourself why, and you got to connect it to your values. So I know that, yes, making more money is going to be a part of my life. But why? And that's because I know that I can continue to support my family. I continue to have fun. I can continue to make an impact. And so coming back to my values, so then you're rooted in that and not in just thinking that it's what you're supposed to do. Oh no, I'm supposed to have a kid. I'm supposed to get a house. I'm supposed to get a job. I'm supposed to have a 401k. That's what they're called, right? Yeah, I'm supposed to have a 401k. Like, screw that. You're not supposed to do anything, okay? What you need to do is get really connected with what you care about. Like, what do you give a shit about? So at the end of the day, the last exercise is, or if you want to do this first before goal setting, is to sit down. It might seem a little morbid, but I think it's a really powerful exercise. So you sit down, picture yourself on your deathbed, recognize the fact that it could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be a year from now, 100 years from now. Picture a best case scenario though. You're old, cute old and in bed. I'm still in my home, picturing that. Get really, like, a really big picture on it. What are you wearing? I don't know. Still, I just picture my Nana because she's so sassy and still puts on makeup. So like, that would be me, hopefully, except I don't put on makeup now. So why would I start when I'm 90? I don't know. Now think of like whatever right now. So you're in that moment and you're thinking about that future self. Whatever is bothering you right now, whatever is stressing you out, whatever decision you're feeling overwhelmed about, whatever circumstance you're in that you're feeling like, God, I wish that didn't happen that way, or I wish things had been different. Like, ask yourself right now in the present day, as well as the version of you in your deathbed, this important question. Write this shit down. Will this matter in 5 years? How about 10 years? Ask yourself that question and then close your eyes again and take a few breaths and picture yourself. You're older. You've your wrinkles, you're in bed, you've literally overcome everything life has thrown up at you. Every single day you've shown up for yourself, you've survived, and you're here. You're in your deathbed, but you're here. You're old and you're here. And all you feel is overwhelmed with deep gratitude for the experience of your lifetime. Everything. You're not thinking about the small things that are maybe clouding your head right now. What does this version of yourself have to say to you? Literally have that conversation with that self. What is she saying to you? What is she telling you to let go of with that worry? What is she telling you to really focus on? What does she say are your values? Life is short. I know that that's a birthday podcast episode, maybe. I don't know. It kind of started with the birth of me in Jago Fit and ended with, the death talk, which I know can be a lot and not easy. And I think we all process things differently, but I do think this exercise can be really powerful. It's not meant to instill with fear. It's meant to light a fire underneath you and recognize that, hey, we're not promised tomorrow. So focus on today. What can you do today to show up as your highest self? That's the question I ask myself every single day since I was 20 something. And it really helped me shift my mindset away from thinking, oh, I have to do this today. I have to do this today. I'm stuck doing that today. I wish I wasn't doing this today. Instead, I ask myself, how can I show up more for my highest self today? And then I start acting like her. I start showing up to her. And the more you tap into that highest version of you, that most confident self, whew, girl, you're going to be unstoppable. These next 10 years are going to look bright for you. So keep stepping into that, keep owning who you are, and keep discovering who she is, because she's there. She's in there. Like I said from the very beginning, that version of you, that highest self, that most confident self, the things that you want to achieve, they're all within you right now. All of those ideas, all of the dreams that you have. But I don't want you to get to your deathbed and think all those dreams sitting around you and they just say, why didn't you birth us? Why didn't you try? We were there the whole time and you didn't tap into it. I don't want those dreams to die with you. Super morbid, but it is something that I tell myself, something that I listen to on a regular basis in order to show up every single day working towards those goals. And I know you can do it too. Wherever you're at right now, whatever your circumstances, there's some way you can show up for yourself and your highest self a little bit more. So thank you guys for spending the first hour, of this episode, spending time with me for my birthday. It's a weird way to celebrate, but it's honestly the best way. I wouldn't change it. I appreciate every single one of you who have been a part of this journey, whether it's been the past 10 days you joined, the past 10 months, or the past 10 years or beyond. Some of my people are ride or dies. They've known me since I was in the sandbox, and you're listening to this right now. Just know I appreciate you. I love you. I see you. You have made me who I am today. That mosaic that I spoke of, you are all a part of me and where I am today. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you guys. 29, starting off to be a good year. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks again for listening to Confidently Uncomfortable. I love being able to connect with you here and honestly don't want it to end. So head over to my Facebook group, Body Confident Blueprint, and be sure to follow me on Insta at JGoFitLife. Also, if you're ready to get real confidently uncomfortable, go leave this podcast a 5-star review and email me the review screenshot, support@jgofit360.com, for a chance to win a free 30-minute fitness audit and goal setting session. I appreciate your support. See you next time.